you'll get a recording of this sometime later today as well. Yay!
Yay.
So welcome. And if you see me looking down like this, it just means I'm checking on my phone to make sure that we are actually where we should be.
We're live.
That we are live and we're not just talking away. Although I do think that we could talk for a long time together,
Easy.
but there we are. I've just seen the top of my head in the recording. So, Alison Felton, how are you?
I am really well, thank you, Carmel. Doing really well.
My pleasure. I'm so excited because I know you and I get to connect now and again and get to have a chat, but I'm so excited to bring you into this forum and have a chat so that other people can get to know you and get to know, you know, who you are, a little bit about you and how you are where you are right now. So maybe we'll start with that question, as in, who is Alison now and how did you get here? Like, who were you before and who are you now?
Oh, wow, that's big. How far back do you want me to go? Who was I before?
Oh, give us the brief pebbles of the versions.
Brief pebbles. So at the moment, in business-wise, I work with women to help them optimise their health. So, I mean, my journey of getting here was I started in the fitness industry, you know, when I was young, always been really fascinated in biology and how the body works and health. So fitness industry for a while, we did gymnastics, you know, all that fun.
You did them or you taught them?
I taught kids gymnastics. I did it a little bit myself, but I taught kids gymnastics and worked in the fitness industry up in the Riverland, where I used to live. And they then got married and had children, and I homeschooled our children for 12 years. So that was
brave
a big,
woman.
Yeah, it was a big learning curve. I learned a lot about myself and, you know, just learn a lot about life, educating children in that way.
What made you decide to homeschool?
Well, it was a combination of things. To be honest, I didn't have a lot of faith in the public schooling system where we are, and I really wanted my children to grow up to be who they are, rather than being influenced by you know, popular culture or what you're meant to be and who you're meant to be. And I really wanted them just to you know, be able to be themselves, and also just wanted them to spend less time doing school as such, but having more time to explore things that they were interested in and following their own interests. So there was that, and also I was already had those thoughts, but that was really pushed because my husband and I travelled with our 2 daughters for 3 years around Australia. So I didn't want to put our eldest in and out of schools every time we moved. So I just started exploring it then, and then we came home and it was working well. And I said to my husband, let's just keep doing it until something changes. And that did change in 12 years. Our eldest had finished and we had quite a gap until our son was born. So the 2 elder girls were working, and one of them was in senior high school. And I felt like it was kind of homeschooling an only child, and he spent a lot of his time in the car because I was driving one to work because she was working before she had her license, and one to school. And although you can implement a lot of education in the car, great time to have them captive to conversations and playing educational you know, stuff on well, cassettes, I was going to say. That's a little bit old, isn't it? CDs and that sort of stuff. So educational stuff in that way. I felt for him that it may have been better to put him into school just to have a little bit more access to other children. So so yeah, he went into school, I think, in grade 3. So he had less of the homeschooling, but still had a pretty good start of just, you know, growing up.
So I hijacked you telling us, like,
yes, I know.
Sorry about that, because it's I admire anyone that has homeschooled. Yes. Because for me, you know, if I were to do it over again, would I change it? I don't know. Yeah. But I was never somebody that it would not even cross into my mind to homeschool.
I know, and it's one of those things too that sometimes it's just the journey you get taken on, and it was an idea I dabbled with, and then I crossed paths with a couple of people that did it, and I remember thinking, oh, I could never do that, and then, yeah, just because we traveled and I thought we could just explore it a bit, because, you know, when they're younger, there's not so much pressure that if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter so much. They'll be able to catch up. But in the long run, you find often homeschooled children can be more advanced in their education, because, you know, you've got one parent with a few children. You don't have one teacher with 30 kids trying to, you know, make sure everybody's getting what they need. So they get a lot more of that one-on-one time and a lot more time to explore things they're really interested in. And that's when we learn, when we're interested.
Yeah.
We want to know more about something. So, yeah.
So tell me more about you. So after you had finished your...
anyway, so while I was homeschooling, I did get very interested in, you know, more about health. I did a lot of my own reading around, mainly around the body's ability to heal itself. So I read some fascinating stories of people with terminal illnesses, or just illnesses that the medical establishment said you have to live with for the rest of your life. And they made some quite radical changes in their diets and lifestyle, and actually reversed those conditions. So that really fascinated me. And I became quite knowledgeable in the area, that a lot of people were saying, oh, are you a naturopath, or are you a, you know, something? And I thought, oh, now that I'm getting to the end of homeschooling, maybe I'll formalize my education and get out in the adult world and get a bit of stimulation. So I went and did a health science degree in nutritional medicine. So it's quite like nutrition in depth. So it's looking at food as medicine, but it's looking at all the biochemical and metabolic pathways in the body and what's needed to support that. And that led me into really in the interest into personalized health, how we are all individuals. We're all developed differently. You know, we develop differently as an embryo, so we become different body types. So we have all of these you know, ways of eating and health trends and diets out there. And often they are all healthy ways of living, but they may not suit your body type. So, you know, paleo and CrossFit might be great for one body type, but more vegetarian and yoga might be better for another body type. And if you try and do something for your body type that's not right, it actually can affect your health negatively, and it can cause more stress and inflammation on the body. So now I work a lot with women and helping them to understand their unique biology and making choices that are right for them. So yeah, it's been a long journey.
Absolutely. And I know, and what you didn't allude to is that when you did that study, that you got some quite high marks in that too, didn't you?
Yes, I did. It's not something that I actually think of often, but when, so I studied at a college that has a campus in every state except Northern Territory. So it's got one in Brisbane and one in the Gold Coast, and then Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth. And when you graduate each year, they give an academic excellence award to each of the degrees. So it's a national award, and yeah, I won it for the nutritional medicine. So that was lovely. I didn't even actually know that they did it, and yeah, it was quite a lovely surprise, and yeah,
beautiful.
It made my family very proud.
Yeah. So fair to say that you have an in-depth knowledge now of and I love how you say the unique biology, because it's a whole different way of thinking about it, isn't it? That we all actually have. You kind of intellectually know that you're all different, but we still kind of go in certain boxes.
Certainly.
So can you give us an example of something that you find quite common to the myth versus to the reality?
So there's that common, at the moment, one of the health trends we have is the low carb or the ketogenic diet. So there's lots of myths around that, in the sense that a ketogenic diet is actually was devised as a very therapeutic diet, and it was originally devised for people with epilepsy that didn't respond to medication. And it actually needs to be quite supervised because it's a very, very low carbohydrate diet. and it needs to be, you know, monitored by a professional to make sure that the person's following it okay and coping okay with it. And we now have a, you know, a modified version of the low carbohydrate or the ketogenic diet, and people believe that everybody should be doing the ketogenic diet, and mostly that is around weight loss, and people often will get success with weight loss, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a healthy way of weight loss or it's healthy for you as an individual. So for example, a young female in her fertile years, to go too low carbohydrate can actually impact her reproductive cycle and cause issues with fertility. Yet a postmenopausal woman will go okay with a lower carbohydrate diet. So and there's sort of myths around what low carbohydrate is. There's even myths around like what is a carbohydrate. When people talk about carbohydrate, we're often talking about processed, you know, breads and pastas and all those sorts of things. Yeah. But, you know, we do have carbohydrates in vegetables, and you can't separate. Lots of foods have protein, fat, and carbohydrate in it. It's just whether it's that if the majority of it's protein, then we consider it to be a protein food, or the majority is a carbohydrate, then it's a carbohydrate food. But they still have the other macronutrients in it as well. So yeah.
Look, I have to say, as a person who has been on and off diets since Jesus was a child, and
which is a long time.
Yeah, and I would consider that I know intellectually, I know a fair amount, but still, when you start talking macronutrients and blah blah, my brain just goes, oh, for God's sake, just tell me how to eat and I'll do that. So it can be quite confusing. And I've tried ketogenic, and I've tried Ayurvedic, and I've tried, you know, and I do believe now you have to find what is unique, exactly that for you. And it's so challenging with all the information out there, or misinformation, to actually find that. So I think what you're doing is really key. So tell me, how are you going in your business? Like, how do you market your business, for example?
At the moment, I market mostly on social media, mostly with Facebook, through different groups, and I'm just, you know, I'm still kind of finding my way there. Sometimes I have success, and then other times it sort of falls on deaf ears. So I'm still learning, and I'm also still learning how to refine my message. I think one of the things that I've found the most difficult with marketing myself is remembering what it's like to not know what I know, and therefore using the right language to speak to somebody who doesn't know what I know.
Yes, so very simple.
Yeah, and I often talk in the language that I understand, and it feels very common and very normal for me, but for other people, they're just kind of like glazing over or switching off because they've got no idea what I'm talking about. So that's quite a challenge, but but mainly just the social media.
Kind of like a jargon almost, because I think every industry has it in some way, shape or form, don't they?
Yeah. And when you're familiar with it yourself, you know exactly what it means, but I know how it is myself. I can jump into a business group, and if they're using certain jargon, it's like listening to a foreign language, or especially when it comes around to tech, when they start using the tech. You know, I remember the first time I heard about, you know, with tech and the back end, and I'm just like, what's the back end? Like, where's my back end? Now I know what that means, but the first time you hear it, the person that said it is saying it like everybody knows what it means. If it's the first time you've heard it, you're thinking,
And you start talking about CRMs and autoresponders and opt-ins, and it's like, what are you talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Because I know that some years ago, I actually purchased a membership site, because that's what I thought I needed.
Yes.
I didn't know I needed a CRM and a membership site. It's like, oh my God, what are you telling me? So it sat there, you know, shelf development kind of thing. It sat there for 2 or 3 years. I didn't even use it.
Yeah.
But I knew I had to have it because somebody told me. You know? But you're right, because you feel silly sometimes in asking those questions, because there's an assumption, well, you're in this environment, you should know.
Yes.
One key thing for me, if I'm talking anything that is remotely jargonistic, is to think I'm talking to a 5-year-old. in some ways, not in a condescending way, but as literally, how could I explain this to one of my grandsons in a way that he could understand?
Yeah.
And that has sometimes cleared it up a little bit. So tell me, what are some of your success habits that you've learned over time?
I think one of my success habits is consistency, and it's just keep showing up. You know, you have those moments where you think, oh, this is hard. Am I doing the right thing? Is this my right message? And you could just go, forget it. But it's just like, okay, no, I need to keep showing up, and just because that's, for me, the only way that you grow is by keep trying something, by keep turning up, keep doing it. Otherwise you can just, you know, fade off into the background quite easily because it gets too hard. So I think consistency.
And what is it that you think that, look, I get it, and you're so right, and there are times, like if somebody had told you what business was going to be like, I think sometimes you go, oh no, don't bother.
Yes.
But that said, what is it that actually keeps you going?
Because I believe I have a really good service and a really good product, and I believe that there's so many women out there that could benefit from what I do, because I hear the conversations, you know, just when I'm out and about, everybody, like particularly women, are often talking about what they're eating, what their girlfriends are doing, how much coffee they've drunk. They know they shouldn't have this much, or I had too much alcohol on the weekend. There's always that conversation around food and lifestyle habits, that I know that what I offer can help people get clarity around what habits are right for them. And that's not to say that anybody out there can go, yay, my profile says that I can drink as much alcohol as I like. Everyone's
Are there profiles like that? Are they
Unfortunately.
Are they Irish?
But the beauty of it is it just gives people a little bit more clarity. And you know, we have times where you might have a girlfriend, or you know, a friend that's doing a certain diet or certain habits, and it's working really well for them, and you try it and it doesn't work for you. Or you have a friend that can drink lots of coffee and it doesn't seem to affect them, but when you have coffee, it G's you up, or it makes you anxious, or it makes you feel yuck. And it actually explains those things, and therefore it takes the I find it just takes that pressure off, and it allows people to be themselves and to be okay with being themselves. It kind of gives you,
they get an aha moment. Oh, that's why I can't drink coffee.
Yeah. And you know, like with all the information we get in the media, often it's not incorrect. It's only correct for some people. So we've been through stages where your breakfast should be the biggest meal of the day, and then a moderate lunch and a smaller dinner. And then we had times where everyone should be eating 6 small meals a day. So we should be eating breakfast, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, supper. And then we've got the intermittent fasting, and you can go without breakfast and don't start eating until lunchtime. All of those ways of eating are actually fine ways to eat, but only if it suits your body type. So if you're a body type that can go without breakfast and only have 2 meals a day, and you're eating 6 small meals a day, you're probably going to hold on to weight because you're eating too regularly, you're eating too often, too much for your body type. But another body type that has a different metabolism and they burn a lot more energy, they need to actually have small meals to keep fueling their body. Otherwise they'll get tired and they'll burn out. So they're all right, but they're only right for the right person.
Yeah, for the right person. And it's quite a challenge. To me, I was always the person that everyone else could eat what they liked, but if I looked at it, it landed on my hips. I didn't even have to eat it sometimes. Well, obviously I did. So what is the best, in business wise, what is the best advice that you can give to somebody that's in that, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this, or, you know, it's really powerful to see other people, in particular women in business, who have, you know, are open and vulnerable and go, you know what, this was bloody hard, and I had to get over stuff. So if somebody was teetering on that at all, what advice would you give them?
look, my advice would be very simple, as just keep trying. But what I did for about 12 months, I went to every free or very cheaply priced half day, full day of business seminars, webinars. You know, if somebody came to Adelaide that were doing a half day or a free day, and it would always be to upsell you into their program.
Yeah.
But the more you do those, the more familiar you become with the language, with the ideas, and things get repeated all the time. So
Yes.
what I did is that, you know, I did so many of those that the things that were regularly mentioned, like they're almost like a common denominator. I go, right, that's something that's really worth looking at. That's something that's really worth implementing.
Beautiful.
So in those half days, 4 days, whatever they are, there's always going to be those little bit of nuggets of information. So I did that for quite a while, and just you end up building a kind of an idea or a pattern in your mind of the things that you should be doing in business that are being successful and productive for any business. And then you can just push aside the other things that don't relate to your business or to you, and just keep trying, just keep talking to people and just giving things a go.
Yeah, and I love that, because now that you say it, I'm thinking, yeah, I actually did that myself. And I remember some of them then started, you know, there was paid ones, and I went, how can I be in the room but not have to pay? So I became a crew member.
Yep.
Fantastic. So I was in the back of the room to see how that works. So yeah, very good advice. But it's also, I think, about putting you into the environment of people that are growing and changing and wanting to do stuff differently. Yep. So I also know none of us are silly. You go into these environments, yes, they're going to try and upsell you to something. That's a given. You don't get something for nothing. Yes. How did you stop yourself from, you know, getting sucked in to every single thing?
It can be challenging, because there's always at that end, you know, that they reward the action takers, and they give you the, you know, the free set of steak knives and everything else that goes with it at the end. So that's, look, I think I did enough of the half days to really work out who I resonated with. So I did sign up to do someone's program. But that was after have done a few half days, and I continued to do other people's free half days or cheap, you know, they might have been a $40, you know, half day to go, and I still did those. But to me, I don't know, as most Aussies do, we have a fairly good BS meter. And we can work out authenticity. And I mean, having said that, it can be who resonates with you. So, you know, the person that I worked with then perhaps didn't resonate with somebody else, and somebody that I went to that I just thought, no, I don't resonate with them. They resonated with somebody else. So it is tough though, because it is very easy to buy into, you know, there's that emotional component and all the free stuff that goes with it. But I think I really looked at what the programs were offering. Some of the things that I have been to, the programs they're offering have been brilliant, but I knew that they were way too advanced for where I was at, and I wouldn't actually, it would be way over my head. I needed to start smaller. And, you know, they're talking, you know, about working with people that were quite established in business and already maybe having employees and putting in systems and those, and they were just like, wow, it was very fascinating, but perhaps a little bit ahead of where I'm at the moment. And yeah, I don't know, it's kind of one of those things that you just maybe go home and speak to a friend and get a prospective husband or something that's not been caught up in the emotion of it,
and somebody, you know, that you trust.
Yeah.
And I have to say, look, from the get-go, really, from having your young kids and making a decision then to go homeschooling, you've always obviously had some form of certainty within you, and that reflects in going out and going to those events and going, no, I knew it wasn't for me yet, because a lot of people I hear of, and they get caught up in it.
Yes.
and then they get caught up in it, and sometimes they get into some financial difficulty.
Yes.
Or they think that they've paid all this money and they don't make any progress.
Yep.
So, and I'm sure at times some that may or may not have happened to you. So when you've been in, and I have to admire you, as I say, that you've had that certainty all along, whether you've realized it or not. So, yeah, because we do. I've spent so many hundreds of thousands of dollars myself.
Yeah.
So what is it that gives you that certainty?
What it gives me the certainty? Wow, that's a big question. Look, I guess one of the things I have in me is to not do something that just because everybody else is doing it. And you know, like I've done a few things in my life that goes against the, you know, the flow of society, and you know, that can be challenging because, you know, going against the stream the whole time can be difficult. But to be honest, I don't really know the answer to that question. It's just that feeling of like, I just had such a strong conviction that it was the right thing to do for our family when it regards to the homeschooling. And I think there's always that element of give it a go. If it doesn't work, then try something else. So I don't find that I never have that sense that if I do something that's, you know, that's it. And if I've made a mistake, it's going to ruin everything, you know, like it's like, give it a go. And if it's not quite right, well then, you know, we'll recover somehow. But yeah, it's just kind of like a bit of a conviction inside. And I'm not sure whether that's just part of how I was born, who I am.
It's definitely a strength though, because not everyone would have that. They have doubts and then they make decisions on those doubts, and then they have more doubts.
I have doubts, I just do it anyway.
Yeah. Cool. So I can't believe we've talked for so long. So if people that are listening to this wanted to contact you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Look, I can put a link under the video in the Facebook group, because if people wanted to book a free 30-minute session with me, I can put a calendar link in there. They can find me at my personal profile, Alison Felton, on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, which is Alison Felton Helix Nutrition, which is about to be rebranded. So that's all very exciting as well.
Cool.
But yeah, just find me on Facebook and send me a private message, or I'll also put a link in here. And if anyone wants to have a free 30-minute chat with me about what I do, then they're more than welcome to book in a time. Beautiful.
Alison, I know that we're hopping over to do an interview in another group in a moment, but I just wanted to say, to finish this off, thank you so much. It's lovely as always to chat with you. As I said, we have developed a friendship which I treasure. And it's great to even learn some more about you as well doing these interviews.
Talk about homeschooling as well. Thank you, Carmel. It's been an absolute honour to be on here and to be interviewed by you.
Awesome. So let's hop over there and we'll chat again in a few minutes.
See you shortly.
Bye.
Bye.